Welcome to the 5-day Facebook REPIVOT Challenge. It's reset, renew, and revive. It is a privilege and an honor to have my friend, my personal trainer, Karlton Meadows, with us. He is actually in Georgia. And I love the background because that's where I kind of met him in my journey. Actually, I have to take that back. I met him in a author book challenge. We were writing together about our books, and this was it's been a journey because I believed in his ideology and his fitness and before I continue with that, I want to just for you to know who this amazing man is, and it's I cannot tell all that he's done, but these are the highlights. NBC showcased 49-year-old Karlton as a 2020 Tokyo Olympic hopeful, but he was not your typical 51-year-old grandpa. He calls him grandpa. There's no way, no grandpa, but that's what he says. This 20-year retired U.S. Navy veteran has served former Senator Connie Mack, the third other White House staff, Johnson & Johnson, MetLife, New York Life, Bristol Myers, Raymond James Financial, just to name a few, okay? In addition to being an official certified member of the Men's Health Fitness Council, Karlton was a 2018 spokesperson for the National Fitness Hall of Fame alongside Forbes, Riley, and Tony Little. So he is with the big leagues, and he is an international fitness authority and athlete who has traveled and trained only 23 countries, just 23 countries in 4 continents, mind you. He combines his experience as a formal fitness instructor for Special Navy SEALs support to unleash his inner champion. And I'm going to leave it like that because I think it's going to take the whole, segment just to talk about the bio, but not to limit that. But I love that when we were together writing our books, that you were really about the inner champion. And what really motivated me, and I was very candid with you. I said, okay, this is where I'm at. I've had a lot of physical ailments, physical conditions. And of course, I'm not a young chickadee, okay? So I have no problem saying I'm a half a century old. Hey, I own that and no problem with that, okay? I know I'm actually better now, thanks to you, okay? And thanks to the motivation and my lifestyle changes, that I'm feeling better now than I did ever in earlier in my life.
Well, let me interject a few things. We, just like you said, we can't go into all of the bio. And I'm not particularly different from anybody you're gonna meet. And that's what I want your viewers to understand. We can't get to know all there is about them, but all there is to know about them is enough for them to reset, to recharge, to refocus, to just revive. They can do it, and we'll just be scratching the surface. They're gonna be given a clearer vision of what's within them as they work with you. But I just want to showcase and highlight that each individual has more than can be defined in a 45-minute segment or a weekend seminar. And so to not discredit what they've experienced and what their informal or formal education has been, because it's created and crafted something that brings value to the people that are around them. And when you look at you and I wasn't certain until I got to your garage and you had 2 other people that joined you in this journey, but you were serious. And I really couldn't pick that up. What I didn't want to do was bring out the Incredible Hulk in me, and then you'd be like, this is not what I signed up for. So we were able to meet, and we were able to work together. And so I'm very grateful for that.
Well, I tell you this, and what was interesting, of course, in the book challenge, I was I was very quiet. I really did not talk as much. And so when I expressed to Karlton, I want to be able to, you can help me because I really truly need to be physically fit. And in my and I love the fact that you are in the gym and there's gentlemen that's doing the exercise because this is what we're talking about. This is what we're talking about. And I remember that when you came to the house, and I had a T-shirt, and I said "The Beast." Okay, so it's like the Beast, and he's like, "Okay, she's serious. We're gonna get this done." And his approach has been amazing in the sense of what needs to be done and what needs to be accomplished. Now, question, Karlton, what made you be so passionate about the physical fitness and what you're doing?
This is what it's about, folks. It is discovering, pivoting, repivoting, working through it.
Absolutely. And I think we're getting it. I think we're getting it. Yes. Okay. It's interesting because we are actually literally repivoting. You were at a gym, and of course, someone else came along and they wanted to use the gym, and you had to move. You had to move. So, simple as that, you had to shift and you had to relocate and you had to, but what's interesting is that there was no worries. We knew that we're going to pick it up. We're going to be talking again. And I love the fact that, you were willing to do that. And so I thank you. I thank you that, you were flexible. I tell people I love fat people, and I say FAT. F being flexible, adaptable, and teachable. And
met us like that because we were scheduled for yesterday, and then I got notifications that my flight was delayed, and then I got notifications that it was delayed again, and then they said, well, you can either stay on the delayed flight, but we found a new flight which leaves at the same time, so you can accept that. And I tried to accept it, and the app wouldn't let me. And I got to the airport. I said, I'll just go to the ticket counter. It wouldn't let me do that either because it wouldn't let me see the boarding pass. So I go try to check in, and I thought, well, maybe we could do it at the layover in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And you were available for today, and the room I chose is seldom used. But then it's Friday. That one person that said, you know what, I'm going to get it before the weekend. It sure takes his lunch hour to come to the functional training room. But hey, we're living what you're teaching. And that's how simple it is. Don't get bogged down when life throws you. And I've been watching softball, not because I'm a fan, but the people that I'm staying with, the wife plays softball in college. Their daughter is going to the softball World Series sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But there's this thing called a rise ball. And I guess it's a pretty popular pitch because people are getting struck out by it. But we didn't strike out.
No, we did not.
It's a ball. If you don't swing at it, it's going to be outside the strike zone. So if you just use some discipline, look around, assess what your options are, and then act.
Oh my God, that is amazing. Okay, can you repeat that? Because I think that you said that so quickly, but I think that's so pivotal. It's so, you got to assess.
Yeah, assess where you are.
Okay.
What's around you. Look at it. Take a deep breath. Put your eyeball, focus on what's coming at you.
Mm.
And the tricky thing is, it looks like it's a strike. And it reminds me of what Les Brown often says, fear is false evidence appearing real.
Mm.
As it is approaching, if you just look, you'll see it's not a strike. And if you let it pass, no harm is done.
Wow.
So we have to assess where we are, what's going on around us, what our options are, and then act. And sometimes acting is just holding your peace. Neither of us freaked out.
No. I mean, we know that situations is going to arise. There are going to be challenges. There are going to be situations that it's going to be beyond your control. What can you control? What you can control, that's what you will do. And that which you cannot control, well then, que sera, sera, and you will continue focus on what you can do, and then weigh out the pros and the cons. Now, what I love of your story is, why are you so passionate when it comes to physical fitness, even at the age, as we mature in age? I say as we mature in age. Why is that so? Why is that your passion?
Well, I think because when I grew up as a kid, it was all around me. We had athletes on the cover of the Wheaties boxes. Scott Tinley and Dave Scott were duking it out for the Ironman World Championships. Carl Lewis was running track. I mean, there was Edwin Moses was setting records. So I grew up around athletics, but I couldn't participate. And I decided at a young age that I was going to be a world-class athlete. And so that's what gave me a drive, and that's what transformed my life. And that's what opened so many doors for me. I was recruited for the Navy run team at my first, my second school, because I got drop kicked out of prep school. So that was a chance to repivot. But the success I see now, I think, stems from the discipline I learned trying to be more competitive and more attractive as an athlete. Not like aesthetic, but skill-wise, that people would say, okay, we want on our team.
Now, why did you say that you were not able to at a very early age?
Well, I had a birth defect that required me to wear braces for a club foot. 1 in 1,000 male children is afflicted with club feet. So one or both. More prevalent in boys and girls. And I had the granny boots and the metal brace. And my mom said that I learned how to walk in the brace. Typically, you put it on at night because they're going to be inactive anyway. But I figured out how to walk in that thing. And I think to her, it signaled that this boy going to find his way into a whole lot of stuff.
This is not your typical young boy. He's determined at a very early age that he was not having any anything that's going to stand in his way of what he wants to achieve. Bottom line.
That's what the Navy said. You could do whatever you put your mind to. My problem was I wasn't putting my mind to the things they wanted. So I just was like, what's going to happen? I'm not finna get shot. I'm not going to prison. I was self-determination and obstinance are, I think they're the same. It just depends on how people look at them. Because I was determined, but I was not cooperative with them until later in my career.
Okay, so what has been the most challenging situation that you've confronted?
I think when I did not run a qualifying time at my Olympic qualifying race in 2016, it was the best race I'd had to that point in my season, but I came up short and people were believing in me. I've lost before. I mean, I've not been allowed to participate. So it wasn't like the failure itself was a problem. It was that now people were believing in me, and some had accused me of being a snake oil salesman. I was trying to sell more copies of my book, all these false accusations.
Right.
And I didn't know what to do. I began to cry, but I was paralyzed. I'm like, I can't crawl into a hole and disappear and pull a hole in after me. I've got to pick my stuff up, get in my vehicle, and get ready to fly back to Idaho so I can drive to Oregon for the Olympic trials and see if I can kind of plead my case. And the fact that I picked myself up and just began to think, well, maybe I could get an exception because I'm a retired military veteran, and they're like, no, the field's closed. I said, well, maybe I can pick up the baskets at the starting line where the athletes put their clothes and shoes. Like, no, that feels closed. We did background investigations. And I'm thinking, I spent 20 years being investigated by the military. I'm good. Just let me on the track. So when people tune in to watch, they'll see me. And that didn't happen.
Wow.
But I had a race on my schedule, and that race produced a silver medal.
Wow.
So for all the, I don't want to say frustration, for all the opportunity to deal with my failure, that was a reward.
It's interesting that you said it wasn't the failure itself. It was that people believed in me. And but even though people believed in you, you still had to believe in yourself. And that's exactly what you did. So yes, you hear the voices of people as this, hey, because they see the potential, they see your efforts, they see who you are. But at the end of the day, who do you see in the mirror?
Well, that was the first time I had a cheerleading section. I've done most of what I've done by myself because people didn't believe it was possible. And I think that also paved the way so that I was more resilient and I was less attached to people's opinions. And my feelings at that point, after the failure, they weren't attached to anybody's feelings or opinion. They were attached to this reality that this didn't go the way I had planned. I was going to storm the track. I went out. People were probably thinking, that dude, people were standing up, but the pain in my feet, I didn't know that I had fractures and I had scarring on my Achilles and healed. I'm just thinking, just focus. And the guy coming up and I'm trying to hold him off. And, I did all that I could do with what and I didn't get what I had expected.
Wow.
That was what shook me. Because I think this was the first time that I had really set goals that were outside of what I could accomplish. Like, I'm going. This is what I'm going for. And some say you never know how far you can go until you've gone too far.
That's true. That's true. Wow, you said something, and I love the fact that your vulnerability, that you said, you set the expectation, and there were high expectation, and you were not able to achieve it. Now, there's people that have set high expectations, they have not achieved it, but they get stuck. And right now they may be hearing this conversation and they say, hey, I'm hearing you, and he knows what I'm talking about. So what was the conversation you had with yourself? And I know you spoke about that, but what was the determining factor to say, you know what? Yes, I set high expectation and I didn't achieve it. Then what?
Well, we listen to ourselves most of the time. And sometimes we have something positive to actually say. But I think in too many cases, our self-talk is negative. And so I listen to different inspirational speakers, motivational speakers, and some of them I would call empowerment speakers, because when I'm done listening, I'm not just motivated to act, I have the power to carry out that action. And so for me, I'm thinking the critics are the people that are doing nothing. But everything to say about everybody else that's trying to do something. So that was one thing that just kind of pushed me to say, hey, drive out there, see what they say. And the good thing is I drove from Florida to Oregon. I stopped and trained in Idaho at altitude, and then I drove on to Oregon. And I watched my race that I was not allowed to compete in. I accepted the reality. Like, it's final, it's done. I'm not gonna make the team. And then I drove back to Florida. So I had plenty of time to think about what I was going to do. And people were already chiming in and, kind of saying similar things that, hey, you gave it your best shot. And if I would just assess what happened and then take a different approach the next time. So going to the podiatrist and realizing all these injuries that I had, talk about things, listen to my body. It's what I tell my clients. I thought I was going to get a pass. I wasn't your average track guy. I was 46, just finished a master's degree in exercise and nutrition science. So I knew, but I thought somehow I could be an exception to those rules.
Right.
I took a different approach, lived through that, and just accepted failure can bring you one step closer to success. So that silver medal is a perfect setup for a gold medal attempt.
Absolutely.
Podium. So it's like, I just need one more step. If I hadn't have tried, it would have been, you didn't even make the trials. That would have been my legacy.
Let me tell you, you've given amazing gold nuggets. I call them gold nuggets, just wisdom, amazing wisdom. You had to accept the reality. I love the fact that, sometimes we don't accept the reality. We're in denial. And if you're in denial, you get stuck there. But you accepted the fact, you re-strategized. You came back and you reassess. And also too, you sought professional counsel, because you went to the podiatrist, you evaluated, you had x-rays. This was what's happening to your body. And then you were not listening to your body, but now you are listening to your body. And your body is part of the coaching. Your body tells you what can and cannot be done. You do stretch it somewhat, but you know what the limitations are. I mean, the body will tell you that when you're going too far. And I think that your expertise on that helps tremendously, especially those that have been injured. And I love your approach, your techniques, because that has helped me even in when I was doing the exercise, because of the different factors in my situation. And that not only did you have that professional evaluation, you went back. And this time around, you're celebrated because you got silver. Is nothing. I mean, silver is amazing, and knowing that that's not the end of the road. On the contrary, I know you have other projects that you're doing.
Well, I want to touch on, the nugget piece of this. I am optimistic. Some people will say recklessly optimistic or toxically optimistic, and I'm ambitious. And that helps me when I work with people, because I'm going to attract what's inside of me.
Yes.
But that's my statement for you. You're attracting people to this event. There's some resiliency in them. There's the capacity to refocus, to repivot, to revive. It's already in them, but sometimes they need a catalyst. Sometimes they need to take them by the hand and lead them across. It may be a familiar intersection, but for some reason they're like, that car don't look like it's going to stop. And you say, it's going to stop. We have the right of way. So you take them by the hand and lead them across the intersection, and they're thinking, you're amazing. You're like, I just led you. You took
exactly
going. So that's something that a lot of us don't take. We don't get to see it because we're so familiar with ourselves. So we need a counter perspective. And when they get to work with you, that's what happens. They get a positive and balanced counter perspective. Working with you, I like you said, that t-shirt, the beast. I was like, okay, Sandy, ready to go. And regardless of what the factors were previously, as long as you gave me the information, I knew what we had to work with, what we had to adapt, what we had to modify and work around, so that you could achieve your goals. I mean, that's where my ambition and optimism weighs in. Your goal is just as important, if not more important to me than it is to you.
I tell you, even in our session of workout, I remember that there was a an experience that I never experienced before. And it was such a shooting pain. And it was because I had done something personally with my body that was causing that to happen, and how you were able to maneuver that. So there was a release of that, and the different exercise. I can tell you that what I was doing physically was also impacting me emotionally and psychologically. Can you talk about that? Because, many times we think of, and again, I have you in a different category because I've had personal trainers before, but I have not had the results and the impact. And mind you, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm not where I used to be. So it's this is a progress, and this is a progression, and it is a journey for me when it comes to even the physical aspect of it. But I tell you, I feel a heck of a lot better than I do now than I did before. Um, but knowing that it's not just the physical, but it is also the component of the emotional and the psychological. You bring that even to the program. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, for me, that mind muscle connection was introduced to me through Frank Zane. He was the only person to beat Arnold Schwarzenegger. So I was into bodybuilding when I came across that concept, but the American Association for Sports Psychologists, they published a study, and Zoloft had beat, no, physical exercise had beat Zoloft in a 12-week study. So our body release chemicals, they release hormones when we exercise. It changes how we see ourselves. It changes our belief in our physical ability. And when you look and feel better, you do better. And so that physical is, our body houses our brain, our heart, our psychology, our everything that is us resides in this physical body. So what we do with this physical body is going to impact the systems that are within it.
Yes.
I like to find out what the person is trying to achieve and why, and listen. Like, I'm listening with my eyes when I'm working out with them to see, okay, what's going on, and to understand that just because a person has a struggle with something doesn't necessarily mean it's a physical struggle. What happened to them? What caused them to be traumatized? What caused them to become a hostage in their own mind and in their own bodies? And by understanding that that's a possibility, I'm not using exercise as a punishment. Too many people feel that the best way to get their clients to move forward is to punish them, to make them feel like I'm in charge. You're going to do what I tell you to do. Now, give me this, give me that. No pain, no pain, no pain, no gain. Suck it up, buttercup. All this that doesn't take into account that this person is more than just a bag of muscles and bones.
Right.
I'm trying to connect on as many levels as possible so that you have an experience that it sets them up for more successes, but it helps them to believe that I really care about them. I'm trying to help them achieve what they're pursuing. I'm not there just to say, okay, this is what I know, watch me work out. And that's not how this works.
No. What I love is the fact that we just trained, and my thought process was, the longer you train, the more results you have. And on the contrary, you showed me that no, that's not the case. Is being intentional and how to approach it in such a, I mean, we did like a 30-minute, but let me tell you, the 30 minutes my body knew it was doing what it needed to be done. I felt that. And it's been a journey. And even though we have not been able to connect, what you've taught me, I'm applying even in my own gym, the things that you show me. So it's a journey for myself. And yes, I agree wholeheartedly. Many times I know personally, it wasn't so much physical. It's the trauma that you've had, is the mindset that you have, that you have to repivot. This is the house, and we definitely have to, sometimes we do things to our body that whether we do it intentionally or unintentionally, that impacts us for the long run. And in this Facebook challenge, we want to make sure that we cover spirit, mind, and body, because it is a holistic aspect of it. It is not just one aspect. Is if we target on one and not target the other two, then we're not getting the wholeness that we're wanting to achieve.
Well, when you look at the people you're going to work with, there's 4 phases of learning, and what happens a lot is training. I say this, you do that. And that works because the person doesn't know. That's why they hired the person that's training them. So they're going to come experience your training, but you want them to, I advise them to stay with you. If they resonate with what you're doing, because what I do doesn't resonate with everybody. Some people would criticize every single thing I do from the time I start a session to the time I end it.
Right.
Well, guess what? I'm not for you. I'm trying to pursue the goals that you are. So if they resonate with you, the ideal is to stay with you through the training so that you can start to teach them, because you're going to tell them, you're going to impart to them what they should do. They may not understand why. If they stay with you long enough, then they can begin to understand why. So just to move from the first phase of learning to the second is huge, because most people don't. They get the training and then they like, okay, well, I got this, and off they go. Mm-hmm. But they don't know why they do the things they do, so that when their situation changes, now they're paralyzed because they tried something that didn't work. And so they ditched the whole thing. It's like,
right.
No, we're going to explain to you why that happened. And here's what you can do, because this is why I had you do that. So the longer they get to work with you, the more likely it is they will transition beyond the training phase to the teaching, and from the teaching to the third. So you can only maintain so much. So we're going to just leave it there. Stay with you long enough to get from training to teaching.
I tell you, I've learned so much from your, being with you. And to me, it was important to see the determination, to see that the ambition, to see the results, because there's results. And when you see the results, you continue to pursue that. And when there is a stumbling block, okay, what can we do? I tell people, don't let nothing hinder you. Let it be a stepping stone. Let it be a stepping stone. What can I learn from this? What is it that I need to reevaluate, reassess, and then relaunch? It is about repivoting. It's about changing your thought process. And that's exactly what you did. Even as a young child, your thought process was, you know what? This is not an obstacle. I'm able to achieve no matter what age, because age is chronologically. How can I train? How can I be fit? How can I achieve, regardless of what people say? Because what people say, like you said, there's people that will just look at the perspective and say, hey, and they'll have their point of view, but they're not you. And then, your call, your purpose in life, many people may not understand, and you may not have a cheerleader on your side, but you're your own cheerleader. You're your own person to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to achieve this. But I do know that in your journey, there are going to be people, like you said, that are like-minded, that will come along and say, hey, I believe in you, and I see what you're doing. And
I mean, there's a saying, pinky power, people
I don't know about the pinky power. Tell me about the pinky power.
Or pinky packs, where they link their pinkies and they say, okay, we're committed to do this.
Yes.
But outside of that, the pinky doesn't get a lot of attention. We see thumbs up, we see this finger pointing number one. We see the middle finger, but it's,
the international signal, right?
Yeah, pinky gets in, with the thumb if it's, surfers
That's
or
right. Yeah, that's right.
the Texas Longhorns, but it doesn't have its own. It doesn't have its own day in the spotlight, and so it doesn't seem that significant. And even if when we come together we're just a bunch of pinkies, guess what? It serves a purpose. It may not be a popular purpose, but it stays attached to our hand throughout our life unless we cut it off. And that is for a good reason. And even if we're not in the same spotlight as the thumb or the index finger or the middle finger, we have a purpose.
Yeah.
And that should be our desire, to serve our purpose the best we can, to serve the gift that's in us.
Yes.
To the best of our ability, and let us contribute the way that we can. We're not going to be like the gorilla or the lion. Because, when you look at fitness, everybody wants to talk about the lion. They want to be in beast mode, but you also have cubs.
Mm-hmm.
You have the lioness. The lion without a cub he has limited impact. He has no legacy.
Right.
And so we want to understand that if others don't see us on center stage with a spotlight down on us, that doesn't mean we don't have something significant to contribute.
True. I just want to encourage everybody that has been hearing this, that do their comments, because I think that what you have shared with us has been amazing. It really has been, with all the different strategies, and I love the pinky. I definitely love the pinky. So I'm going to say Karlton Meadows said about the pinky. Okay, so we're at the last, and again, I value your time. I value this conversation and words of wisdom. Those that are hearing us, what would be like the last words of wisdom that you want to share and encourage?
Well, I really want to edify you, because the person who asks the questions really controls the conversation. When you look at power dynamics, it's the one that asks the question that is in the position of power. And it's not that I'm dismissing what I've accomplished. I don't want people to dismiss what you've accomplished. You value my time, value your time. I think that's what's important. When people can mutually respect and value one another, it's easier for them to collaborate and to have an impactful outcome. Like, I'm not saying, well, what am I going to get out of this? And you're not saying, what are you going to get out of this? We know each other, and you've made it possible for me to increase my impact through the Claire Mel Elementary School. You put my name out there and it opened doors. And so I want the people working with you to understand that you're bringing value as much as you're sharing value when they get a chance to work with you. Mm-hmm. So you are, as they would say, the superstar of this little interview. So that's my 2 cents, or my 3 gold nuggets, or whatever, value you want to attach to it, because we get it twisted sometimes. We think that the person that's over there is so important, and we're not. Each of us, we wouldn't be here if we didn't have something of value to contribute. And it took me a while to understand that. Our validation is in the fact that we're here. We have a similar worldview. The Most High saw that we were finished and said, okay, it's time to get started. He knows the end from the beginning. So he said, your book is done. The script's done. Go live out the play.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Get out there and go through the scenes. So the reason we're here is because we have something significant to do. And coming to learn how to repivot, how to recharge, how to refocus, how to be re-engaged and revived will increase the likelihood that we pursue that impact, that we pursue our purpose, and we gather with like-minded peoples to keep ourselves not just accountable, but motivated and empowered.
I thank you for those words, because my heart's desire for the people, not only for them to be able to fulfill the purpose, but that they would be able to fulfill it with health, with wisdom, and just motivation and purpose and determination, tenacity, to their fullest. And I thank you for being in my life. I thank you for the words that you shared about me, because we're in this together. We are in this together.
Hey,
We're Pinky. Thank you so much. I love you, and please send my regards to your family, and for sharing. I'm looking forward to future connections.
all right. I'll see you when I get back in town. I got a package. I've been driving around in my truck. Might well just read.
Hello, and from the bottom of my heart, I just want to say thank you for everyone that have been with us today. I want to give a warm hug and gratitude to my friend, my coach, personal coach, Karlton Meadows. He truly has been inspiration for me, in both in my health as well as a person. He has stretched me beyond what I think I can do. Now I want to ask you for something specifically, and it is a call to action. And I want you to be able to today go to this Facebook. It's private. You can share, what did you learn today? What were the aha moments? And I just want you to not just say what you learned, but what are you going to do? Just one thing that you're going to do differently today to repivot. Remember, it starts with you, and it only starts with you. We want you to reset, renew, revive, so you can have an amazing tomorrow. And it starts today. So looking forward to seeing your responses, looking forward to seeing what you've learned. And thank you for coming in this journey. Ciao. Los amo.